everyone, so we're now week 2 of February, so it is week 2 of my Adultathon reading. So here's what I've managed in the last 7-ish days, maybe 10-ish days. Retribution Falls by Chris Wooding. This is a reread for me. My husband read this to me first time round, so actually it was quite novel reading it for myself because there was a lot in there that I don't really remember having listened to it. This is highly enjoyable steampunk pirate adventure with a massive conspiracy theory going on, where we have this crew of complete and utter misfits. They don't have much going for them. They really are insignificant in the grand scheme of things, and they're framed for a crime that really they didn't deserve. And this is them trying to prove that they're innocent and find out what on earth is going on. It's hugely enjoyable. The characters are very relatable. You understand them. You might not always like them all the time, but you get where they're coming from. So Retribution Falls. Then I read Woven in Moonlight. This is by Isabel Abanza, I think. There you are. This is the fairy loot book of January, so they had the read along last week. I started late, so I blitz read it in a few days. This is based on Bolivian politics and history, and actually I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to enjoy it. There's this element of magic to the world which is sort of just there. It's not really explained, and some people have this magic, some people don't, but the magic is always different depending on your, I don't know, skills. I'm not quite sure how it works, which might be the book's biggest failing that I can think of, that the magic system's not really explained much. There's not much world building either. A lot of it you pick up as you go. But I really did like the main character. I thought she was stuck in this impossible situation. She's the decoy, which we find out very, very early on, so I'm not spoiling anything for you. But a lot of it is about her struggle of self-identity and who she is and who she wants to be. So I liked a lot of that. And the magical element was really, really good. I thought it was quite unique, actually, that it's not something I've come across recently. So that was quite fun. And I have to say, the main antagonist in this book, every time he was on the page, I wanted to scream. I really despised him, and he didn't do much, but I really hated him. Kudos, Isabel, you gave me an antagonist I really, really, really wanted to kill myself. You know, not your characters, I wanted to kill him. But highly enjoyable. It is a sort of standalone. There will be another book set in this world, but I'm kind of hoping we're going to come back to more of what was going on in this story, because I feel there are some threads left empty, and hopefully they're going to be picked up in these other novels. But I really enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I was going to. And then 2 graphic novels from the world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So I've got The Origin, which is basically a retelling of the movie. Yes, there was a movie before the TV series. Not many people know about it, and it's something that's kept quite quiet. The movie is notorious for its bad acting. I can't comment on that because I've only seen it once and I don't remember the bad acting quite so much. But it's very much a comedy horror film with a dumb blonde actually being the hero. As you very much expect. It subverted an awful lot of tropes and expectations. But it didn't go down very well. So when the series came along, the movie was kind of forgotten a little bit, but The Origin actually tells us that story. So if you've never seen the movie, this is a good place to get an idea of how Buffy became the Slayer and what made her move to Sunnydale. And then following on from that, I've got Viva Las Buffy, which follows on directly from the end of the film or the end of The Origin, telling the next step of the storyline of Buffy's family falling apart, of her accepting her role as Slayer, and what happened to her best friend Pike. So there's a lot of that going on in here. There's also Angel is in this book, but he's not being introduced early, he's just there. And there's this big vampire nest in a casino in Las Vegas that Buffy basically takes down. Very cool. There's a lot of male gaze on certain pages, but actually there's a lot of comedy, there's a lot of humour, and the characters are really well written still. So I will forgive it some terrible poses. These graphic novels count as part of my Adultathon for, I think it was Friday's prompt, which was a short book less than 100 pages, so I'm going to count my graphic novels. And then a bonus book this week, I'm currently working my way through The Deathless by Peter Newman. This is his new book out. It's a new series he's writing, and boy does this one really throw you in at the deep end. I've no idea the political system. I'm literally learning it as I read. The world is pretty screwed up. We've got these Deathless that are people who are almost reincarnated into a descendant of theirs, which means their descendant's soul is replaced by their soul. So I'm kind of thinking the Deathless are actually quite selfish people at this point, but they live in these crystal buildings, castles in the sky, and there's this like energy that they use to keep them up, and their role is protectors for the villages down below that supply the cities with their food. And they're protecting them from the wild, which is basically any forest or land off the God Road, which runs in perfectly straight lines between everywhere. On the God Road, you're safe. In the wilds, you're not, because anything and everything will attack you in there the minute they smell blood. So if you cut yourself and you're off the God Road, you're fair game to these creatures, inhabitants, monsters. I'm not quite sure what they are. They seem to be a cacophony of different beings meshed together that basically are out to attack anyone and eat them. It's quite horrific in places, I have to say. I mean, there's a tree that will suck your blood. The trees have their own agenda. They're not nice trees, you know. Forget Ents and Narnia trees. No, these trees are evil. And the animals will just literally attack anyone and anything. It's quite horrific in places. There's a lot of political intrigue going on. I think we've got 9 deathless families protecting the land, but they've all got their own politics going on, and you've got the High King of each one, or the High Lord, I think they're called, because obviously females are allowed to rule quite happily. There's none of that whole sexism in here. You know, females are very welcome as well. There's a lot going on in this story, and I'm literally picking up as I go. I'm now comfortably over halfway through, so I'm hoping to finish this possibly in the next couple of days. Well, unfortunately, it's half term here, so I've lost my reading time on the bus, so I'm now having to make sure I allocate reading time at home amongst the housework and whatever I'm doing, which is a lot harder than it sounds. I keep saying to people, just set yourself a time. And here I am struggling to do it myself. I'm hoping to finish this in the next couple of days and then plough on with the last 3 books that I've got on my Adultathon TBR, and then anything else that I get my hands on that's still on the table. So they are brief mini second week wrap up of Adultathon. I think I'm vaguely on target. Like I say, it does depend how this week goes, how strict I am with my reading times, because I don't have that. I'm stuck on a bus and I'm going to read. There's a lot more distractions at home, which, as you know, stuff gets in the way and stops you reading. So I'm really hoping that I can set the time to keep up with the reading so I don't fall behind. So how are you doing with your Adultathon TBR? I know there are an awful lot of other readathons going on at the moment, so let me know which one you're doing, what book you're reading for that, what's the prompt and all that, because, you know, I love seeing what other people are reading and how we're all getting on with it. I'm quite positive about my readathon at the moment. I feel like it is achievable. It's just whether I actually keep up with it or not. We'll see how that goes. You know, there are 2 weeks left in February, so that is ample time to do a tome and 2 books and something else, but we'll see what happens. As always, in the description box down below you can find all my social media links, links to my book blog, and a link to a small booktuber. Please go and check them out. If you need any information about the Adultathon, please go and check out Olivia's video, link down below. As always, thank you very much for watching and happy reading. Bye.